Okay.
We'll announce to everyone that you're there. Hello, everyone. We're just going to give it another minute or two. Let everyone show up. And let me deal with a little bit of noise happening here. There we go. Good to go in a sec. Okay, very good. Going to be nice and quiet now. So, Joanna, I know you said you volunteered. If anybody else wants to work today, please raise your hand. And hello, everyone on YouTube and here on Zoom. Thanks so much for joining us for our third and final, not final for the rest of our lives, I don't think, but final meaning it's the final call that we're going to do before this 8-week program focused on inner reconciliation starts on this coming Monday. This coming Monday is when the first recorded material from that course is going to come out, and the first call will be Thursday. So if you're itching to get in and you want to be part on all these calls that we do together for the next 8 weeks, please sign up. I will type the link into the chat box while GP says hello and lets me do all that stuff.
That's right. I'm going to cover for his technical stuff. So welcome, everyone. Yeah, this is the third and final demo for this round. Yeah, it definitely won't be the last we do ever. I'm going to do this one a little differently. We are working with people in the queue who have already signed up for the course, but I'm also going to invite questions from YouTube that I'm following. I'm checking on the chat. Obviously, you can't join with audio, but in the chat, and I will see what we can fit in. And also, any questions you might have about the course itself and the content and all of that, be fielding that. Obviously, when we're working with somebody, we can, with the interaction, we can go deeper than we can with just something posted on the chat in YouTube, but we can deal with it generally, and oftentimes that can be all that's needed at the time. And of course, even working with somebody one-on-one in a public setting, we're not going to be able to go to quite the depth we could if we were working one-on-one in a private setting or in a small group like a retreat or something like that. So this is pretty wonderful. I love doing it, and I hope you all will just kind of share with us whatever is on your heart. What's on my heart right now is I'm just utterly delighted to be here. I'm utterly delighted to be engaged in this kind of self-inquiry, and inner reconciliation has a variety of purposes. It fulfills a variety of needs, not just therapeutic, and isn't just the release of long-standing traumas from this and past lives. But the release of those traumas frees up an energy. It frees up the inner resistance that lets you go much deeper in your spiritual inquiry, into the deeper inquiry as to who are you? Why are you here? What's this all about? The kind of questions, the deepest questions that we as human beings ask. So that's my pleasure in being here. And as always, it's great to be here with Evan, who's been on this ride with me from very close to the beginning of inner reconciliation, and it's just a delight for me to see him have grown into a teacher and a facilitator in his own right. And he does it differently than I do, and he has and he actually catches some things that I miss. So he's more of a peer than a student these days. So I love when anybody gets to a certain level of competence. I love exposing the world to it, because the more you see the different ways in which people approach it, the better off we are. I mean, I've got therapists, I've got scientists, I've got coaches, I've got people from all walks of life that have just integrated it into their lives, because it's not a philosophy, it's not a religion. There are no precepts. There's nothing you have to believe. It is simply just coming to know yourself as you actually are. So on that note, I will shut up and let the proceedings begin, Your Honor.
Sure. You want to jump right into working with people?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. We have a volunteer kind enough to join us who has not worked with us yet. So Joanna, I'm going to bring you up, and then you should be able to unmute yourself. Just let me know in the chat if there's any issues.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Joanna. Hello. Yes. So good to hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Let me try something.
It's a little echoey, but I can make it out.
Can you hear me better okay?
It's no different. Yeah. It's all right. I can hear you. I can understand you fine.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. So, what's on your heart today?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Uh-oh, I don't think she can hear us.
Maybe you don't hear us, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear us? We'll type something in the chat here. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I
I
can
forgot.
hear you now. Can you hear me? I'm so sorry.
You can hear us now. Okay, good. Yes, perfectly. Wonderful. Good. Hello. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Oops, now you're cutting in and out.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, no. Oh, that's way better.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there it is.
There we go.
There we go. Something had to be plugged into something. Yeah.
I just fiddled with a few things. I apologize. Thank you.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. What is on your heart, dear lady?
Well, I'm in downtown New Orleans, so I've had a bit of a rough week with the Hurricane Ida, and yeah,
Hmm.
a lot of traumas came up during the storm and with people, violence, abuse. I mean, I'm just in a perfect place right now for some some rebuilding. You know what I mean? I
I
just
do.
yeah, and some guidance. Yeah.
Okay. So, what exactly is it that you're feeling right now? What's the most significant and most presenting feeling that you're having right now?
Like a physical feeling of just in my chest and in my stomach, and it's like a crushing. It's like a crushing all the air out of me, crushing
Hmm.
kind of a feeling, a
Right.
very deep sadness, very deep
Hmm.
sadness.
Well, obviously it's a very difficult situation with a natural disaster going on,
Yeah.
and I don't know how well the relief efforts are going, and I know people can get kind of crazy
Yeah.
when stuff like this happens. Yes, so it's perfectly natural that your nervous system is going to be on alert.
Mhm.
Right? That's what it was designed to do. It's now, I mean, it's in danger. The danger is clear and obvious, and it is a real danger. This one's not fake. How in danger are you? How
Not
in the
at all
midst?
anymore, really. Not at all anymore. I mean,
Okay,
the resources are coming. Yeah. I mean, I have
okay,
power, obviously. I have power.
yeah,
Not everyone
yes.
does, but I do. I am right next to a hospital, so
Okay. So you're on a good grid,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So this is more of the residue because you yourself are not actually in danger this moment.
No, I'm not. In fact, the entire
Very.
police department's living as my neighbors right now. It's perfect.
Okay, okay, very good.
Yeah.
So then the sadness and the like that's coming up, just kind of let your attention kind of cue into that for a moment.
Mhm.
That sadness. Because it might just be a sadness about what's going on around you and the way people are, and just a normal kind of open-hearted reaction to, the suffering that you see around you. There could be something in you coming up from the past. We don't have to figure that out.
Mhm.
You're in distress. You're feeling a sense of distress, a sense of sadness. Just kind of cue in on that feeling. There's no agenda. You're just going to feel it. And set aside any goals you have, any aspiration. Even the idea as to what you want to get from this interaction with me. Just really be present in your body. Feel the feelings. Feel that sadness. Just see if the sadness has anything to say to you, or if there's anything it wants to do. Cry, walk, dance. You never know. There's some kind of energy that wants to express itself. Hmm. It's okay, let it come. There's more to it than just what's going on around you. Some kind of loss. Are there any words that go with it? Or is it just that feeling and the tears?
The words come and go. I can't even
Okay.
recall them after they leave.
Okay, that's fine. That's good. Yeah. You're just creating that space. And notice how the rest of your body's relaxed a bit.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to hold back. Doesn't have to push back the tears. Just stay with it. That's all you have to do. This may be all it needs. Maybe more, but we'll find out. We just stay with this and you let it take the lead. Is there something more coming up?
I'm sorry. I wish there was.
No. No, this is, it's wonderful. It's not an endless stream of bad things we have to process. Sometimes things are very simple. Sometimes all we need is just a little space to feel what we're feeling in this moment. That's it. Oftentimes there isn't a great, huge trauma laying underneath. Now just notice all of the energy in your body. You've just been through a circumstance that could have been traumatic, okay? Which simply means you get into a circumstance and you don't have a way out. That's how traumas are created. But in this case, you did. So now just ask the whole system, your whole body, is there anything we need to do to let go of that remaining vigilance and alertness that we're carrying?
There's a sense of a lack of forgiveness for my bad decisions that I made during the right before and during the hurricane.
Okay. Does it feel like guilt, shame, irritation?
Lots of shame.
Lots of shame. Yeah, I should have done better. I could have been better. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So notice how that feels in your body, right? When you say, I should have done better. I made bad decisions. And just own it. I did. Okay, I did. I made bad decisions. And now I'm sitting in a place where if I'd felt like this, I would have made different decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, keep your attention on the feelings running through your body. And see if your body confirms it, right? Does it confirm that, yeah, you made bad decisions? See if you can feel into that and tell, is that your body? Is that your actual energy system that has responded to an emergency, or is that your mind commenting about it?
My body feels something different. It just feels very sad. Like I've lost a huge part of myself.
Okay. Yeah. So let's just put a question inside the body. What have I lost? Set aside the mind's commentary about bad decisions and the like for right now. Just let's stay with what have I lost? What parts of me are lost? And you don't have to get a specific answer, right? So don't think I'm asking for you to come up with some answer. I'm not. Just the question. That's all. And then you let the whole energy system respond however it does. Now, would you take this into your body as well? And just put this question in. Is it possible that, yeah, they're lost, but they're not gone? Lost as in they're somewhere I just don't know where, as opposed to lost, completely gone. Which one feels more true?
I feel like it's lost, completely gone.
Lost, completely gone. Okay.
Like I feel like
So
a part of me is ripped out.
Yeah. All right. So I want you to just really feel fully the grief of something that has been lost and is not recoverable. Really feel that. There are many things in life that does happen. Friends, people that pass away, somebody you love who breaks up with you or something. We do experience these irrecoverable losses. So just grieve it. Say, okay, it's gone. It's more than sadness, it's an utter grief. Notice how your mind wants to say, yeah, and it's your fault. But just put that to the side. Right? You can pick up that up later if needed. Your mind's commentary isn't needed right now, just the feeling. The body needs to grieve. What's happening in your body?
It just feels like I'm feeling every loss ever in my life all at once.
Good. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah.
And a part of me is just like, oh, it's not like a wanting to die. It's like a wanting to not try to live a life that's not real anymore.
Yes, I get it. Yeah. Authentic, genuine, intimate, full, visceral. Real life. A real goddamn life.
Enough, yeah, of the just me.
Yeah.
Enough me. No more me. Just life.
Yes, no more of the me you were forced to become.
Yeah.
Let's grieve. Let's grieve her. Let's grieve that which was lost. Maybe that part you didn't need anymore. Maybe it wasn't even really the real you. Just maybe.
Yeah.
We don't have to make up our minds. This isn't a precept. It's just a looking with the inner eye. Just let it continue that grief to flow. You could be grieving every loss you ever had. Notice through all the feeling, you're still here. You're still very present. Joanna has not gotten lost. Some things have, but you've not. In fact, it's you that's grieving.
Like I hurt, but I feel safe that I hurt.
Perfect. That is absolutely correct. Yeah. We so try to shut off these feelings. It's the more you feel, the more safe you feel. It's paradoxical, but it works. The more permission you have to feel horrible, the safer you feel.
Yeah. I think
It's
for
not,
me, it wasn't just the hurricane. Like, I just wanted to share this part because maybe someone can relate. I had words come at me, which was like every single hurtful word that could ever hurt. Like every single word that could like they're just words and sounds, but it's like every single it was like the wind of the hurricane was not as hard and it's not as strong as the pummeling of the words.
Yes.
Of hatred that I felt. It was the world's biggest storm, and 1,000 cuts. 1,000 cuts.
Yes.
1,000.
Oh, beautiful. I mean, I know it's terrible to experience, but the fact that you're there, conscious, letting yourself feel it is really it's courageous.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Just stay with it. Just stay with it. This is such a simple process.
I feel like a little kid.
Very good. Yes.
Like a snot-nosed goose.
Very good. Because a lot of these feelings go back to that, to when you were a kid. Hurtful things, cutting things, things that you internalized and believed to be true about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same words.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. These, our cutting words are far more destructive than any hurricane. It just knocks down houses. This knocks down souls. But we're here to regain your soul, to reconnect to it, to that which can't be lost. And notice you're still here. You haven't vaporized, you haven't disappeared, you haven't ceased to exist. You're very much still here. Feelings and all.
I'm really looking forward to your course, GP.
I'm so looking forward to having you there. I am. Yeah. So let's just stay with us a bit longer. I want to make sure we get to the right point to let it go for the moment.
I just don't want to bore anybody.
If they're bored, tough. I'm not. So I'm good. It's my show. So it doesn't have to take a lot of words. No magic. We're not forcing processing to take. To happen. We're being present with what's present. There's just this grief and sadness and these cutting words and a little girl and all sorts of things that are just buzzing around. They don't have to speak to you. You just have to give them the space.
it's like you're walking me through this, and it's like there's almost like a, I can't even describe the space. It's like a, I don't know. It's a beautiful thing I've never experienced before. That's true. I've done
Oh.
I've done drugs. I've experienced before, but it's very cool.
Yes. Yeah, plant medicine can have a similar effect. Yeah. The only difference is this isn't temporary.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because this is you. This is what all those experiences point to but can't sustain. And that space you're feeling is you. It's just you. That's what you feel like when there's nothing extra there. Just spacious and empty and open and accepting and loving and free.
Even if there's sadness there, it's weird. It's that, and it's sadness, and
Yes.
it's happiness, and it's all of it.
Perfect. Yes. 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 You've got it. Yeah. You're the space in which all of it can happen. If something in particular needs your attention, like sadness, well, then you give it your attention. That little girl that's, you can feel in there that got cut. And the effect around you of the hurricane, of the fear in people. All of it's welcome in this space. But notice how staying with the space begins to transmute all of those.
Can we live here forever, like this space?
Yes, yes, you can. That's exactly the point. Yeah.
Because I'd rather live here.
Yes, indeed. Yes, we can. Of course, this is your This is your nature. This is the real you.
I've heard you pointing to this. I just didn't know if this was the same thing.
This is it. Yes, it's that simple, right? And it feels as if we fall out of it and go back into it, but it's not really true. You never leave here. Notice that feeling that I've lost something. It's not there, is it?
I mean, it's there along with everything else.
Yes.
The whole world.
But it doesn't feel so true, does it?
No.
No. The
It
whole
feels
world
okay.
is there, right there. Yeah, it's okay.
It feels okay.
It's okay. Right? This is the space in which all things get transmuted. Everything gets converted into love.
And it's real love. It's like that.
Yes. Yes, it's the real thing.
Yeah.
And you can't leave here ever. Your mind will say you left. I've got to get back. Don't believe it. That's just another thing appearing in this space. You never leave this space. Because you are that space.
It's very cool.
It's very cool.
It's very cool.
All right. Can I let you go now for a bit?
Please. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Joanna. Oh, lovely. Lovely, lovely. It never ceases to amaze me where this goes.
It's very interesting, too, for anyone who's watched multiple of these. This is the third call we've done. We've seen there's some different styles of when people are working with things in different ways. The ways they sometimes it's almost more like a discussion of sorts. It's like, how do I be with this? Sometimes it's rapid fire and things are coming up and images are firing off and it's going from one thing to the next. And other times it's very basically you're providing a container of space and there's not much to say and there doesn't need to be. And that's one of the things I love about this, and I think one of the things that we're going to be discussing a lot over these 8 weeks is that it doesn't look a particular way. It's kind of based on what's coming up and what's needed. And sometimes if you get really into certain techniques, it can be a bit of a challenge because it's like, well, nothing's coming up, so what do I do with that? Or I don't feel it this particular way, so now I'm not sure how to use this technique because it depends on me feeling something in my body a certain way. So, when you're more open about it, and if it's showing you things to address and giving you words, then there are words. If it's not, it's not. And there isn't a right or wrong about that. And it's important for anyone doing this stuff for themselves. Like, oh, I went to meditate and nothing came up. Congratulations. You're able to just sit in true meditation, or whatever you want to call
it. Yes, it's true. The key thing to become adept at this is dropping all of your expectations. And you really do work with what is ever there. And sometimes it's really outrageous the stuff that comes up. I mean, it's downright crazy and otherworldly and surreal. And other times it's just space. And the job is to simply sense what's going on there. The key thing is keeping attention in the actual experience and not going off into the mind's interpretation, because this isn't a process. All we ever really do is create a space in which whatever needs to happen can happen. And that's the art of it. So next up.
Yeah, they are already here.
Very good. And I will check the questions going on YouTube here.
Great.
It's all yours.
All right, tag team. Hello, how's it going?
Hey, Evan, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, great. Where to start? I'm very nervous. Just have to put that right out there.
Okay.
Right off the bat. I think what's going on, I'm going to do it by way of a song lyric because that's the only way I can just seemingly describe what I'm feeling right now.
Okay.
It's an old song by this group, the Carpenters, back in the early 70s, and it's Rainy Days and Mondays. And the lyric is, nothing is really wrong, feeling like I don't belong.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had this feeling that I don't belong anywhere. I'm kind of adrift a bit right now. I mean, if you looked at my life, I'm okay. I've got a nice family. I've got a stable living situation and all of that. And yet there's this gnawing sense that I'm not sure where, and some of it has to do with my own sense of my own agency, my own competence, my own feeling of competency, whether it's in work or in my interpersonal relationships. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that gives you enough to work with.
Absolutely. So if you can, do you have a reference or a time in your life where you did feel whatever you're calling that sense of actually belonging, feeling like I should be here?
Excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
I wanted to just interject something here because I saw some of the questions on YouTube. And the question from Andre is very similar to what you're doing with Mark right now. So I'm really just inviting everybody on YouTube to really pay attention, because this will work for you as well, even though the issue may not be the same. There's the energy has a lot of wisdom to it, and it can make use of stuff. So the similarity here, I just wanted to point it out. So
great, thank you.
Sorry for the interruption.
It's okay.
It's okay. A time in my life. it's
Well, before you start scanning for a time in your
yeah.
life, just ask the question inside: have I ever felt what it is I feel I'm missing? If it shows you a time or an event, that's fine, but that's not really what matters.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, I can come up with these silly little examples, I guess.
So, but describe the feeling.
The feeling, yeah. I think the feeling was that there was no agenda. No, I didn't have an agenda. Um, there didn't seem to be an agenda on somebody else's part. There
Hmm.
was just sort of these low expectations of what was ever going to happen, and a lot of it I just scanned back to like when I was a kid, on the beach playing with my friends and my cousins and things like that. That's what just popped into my head. But it was
Right.
just it's just it was just me.
Okay, good. And so just checking in again with that initial feeling. And is that what you're longing for now?
Yeah.
That feeling? Okay, good. Now, does cross-reference that against fitting in or belonging? Is that a relevant piece, or is that layered on top of it? Is
I
it
think
just I
it's
want to feel that connected and lack of pressure and obligation?
Yeah, I'd like to feel connected. I think it's yeah. I'm sorry. Can you just repeat that?
Is it is the element of belonging, fitting in from the initial question, does that still feel like it's relevant to it, or is it just simply I want to feel that feeling I felt when I was a kid?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's a sense I'd like to feel like I'm more plugged in to and not having to put on some sort of a show for myself or for other people, and I
Mm,
guess for myself as well. I think that I always feel I have to have the right answer, or I've got to have it well researched, or I have to be witty, and
good.
I've got to be whatever I think somebody wants me to be in any given situation, and
Okay.
it's exhausting. It's
Oh yeah,
exhausting.
it's very exhausting. So tuning into that though, feeling that mask that you put on and seeing the image of what you feel you're supposed to be. What's the consequence if that gets put down? Why do you need to put that on?
Rejection,
Okay.
you know, um, banishment from the
Hmm.
kingdom, so to speak. Yeah.
Any specific contexts or people coming up, or is it
Yeah.
generalized?
Yeah. Like parts of my family, you know, that I didn't, I didn't, uh, score. I wasn't, a particular context. I'm thinking of something like with my brother where we're having a conversation and I want to make a point and I want to emphasize what I have to say and be concise and erudite with it um, um, uh, that he'll understand or somebody will, that I've penetrated through the veil of whatever the situation we're talking about and I've gotten to the heart of it and that was that and don't I feel good afterwards and that almost never happens.
Hmm.
What I wind up doing is I just keep stumbling over myself really. um yeah.
All right, that's very insightful. So, zeroing in on that a bit more, what is it exactly you're trying to do in those moments? Is it are you talking about like proving a point to someone, or you mean helping him, or
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be
anything?
yeah,
Okay.
anything. Yeah, yeah. and I want to prove it more to myself that I've scored a point to myself. I've had this, I think I've got this internal scoreboard that goes on, and it's the Yankees 5 and the Red Sox 4, and I better get up and, you know what I mean? It's kind of.
And so what defines a score and what defines a miss?
Yeah. Therein lies the elusiveness of this, because
maybe not as much as you might think, though. Just
yeah,
don't think about it for a moment.
Yeah.
Just close your eyes again, take a deep breath. And the part of you that's trying to score is pretty aware of what a score is. Even if it's not clear to you yet, it's trying to do something. And so try to pose that question to that energy, that part of you that you feel like, I need to accomplish something in this interaction. I need to, whatever that is, and just sit with it for a moment and say, what is it it's trying to accomplish? Now, don't worry about, you don't need a concise, ironically, you don't need to give a concise, crystal clear answer here. It's a sense of, it might just be a feeling. It might be like, yeah, it's just trying to, you just want to connect to the feeling of what it's trying to accomplish.
It goes back to this sense of I say something that is considered, that I consider to be a competent thing to an appropriate thing to say in a given context. Oh yeah, that was the right thing to say at the right time. And I, that's and to be honest, I mean, I'm taking this upcoming course, and boy, oh boy, I'm already having this trepidation around, boy, I'm going to probably swing for the fences, to use the better baseball metaphor, and strike out, and that's going to make me feel like more shit, with other people. And so I'm thinking, and it gives my my own sense of competency. I think, I think I'm smarter than I really am,
Okay. And so just say to yourself, I need to prove that I'm competent.
Yeah.
And see what comes up, how true that feels.
Yeah, that feels, lands.
Okay. And so the feeling of not being competent, how familiar, how old is that?
Oh, as old as me.
Okay. So it feels like you've always had it. You're not, no specific incidents or memories are coming up that seem to have instilled that for you.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of stuff in my familial background that would amplify that for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So just take a moment to turn your attention now to, well, let's first see if you can you separate a little bit from I'm incompetent to feeling a part of you that feels incompetent? Is there any separation from it at all, or is it just like I am incompetent and that's my being?
I think I can separate those two things out.
Okay, good. Which is great, because, now even better than just me doing it is both of us doing it, to turn your attention to the part of you that feels incompetent. And what does it look like to you?
When I'm feeling incompetent?
That part of you that feels incompetent.
Yeah.
When you look at it, what does it look like? Is it desperate? Is it contracted? Is it scared? Is it afraid? Is it fighting?
It's scared. Yeah, it's very afraid. It's afraid. it's contracted too. As much as the bravado tries to compensate for it, it's really the contraction and the scaredness.
And the fear it feels, is that still around a type of abandonment or banishment?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So see if you can kind of bring yourself, the part we're going to say, you're looking at that part of you.
Mm-hmm.
And see if you can kind of move towards it a bit. If it can feel that, do you feel like you would ever abandon this part of yourself? Do you feel like this is a part of you that disgusts you, which sometimes happen? Or is it part of you feel like you have compassion for? You want to help it?
I'm it's so funny you mentioned that, because I'm working on the compassion part. Most of the times I'm disgusted with it, but I'm so looking at myself as this little boy with mud on his face, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't that all this kid needs is
Yeah, just keep leaning into that, because that's the compassion, right? You're saying all this kid needs. Now you're totally becoming compassionate to what this kid needs.
yeah.
And so lean into this, where you're no longer, oh, I'm incompetent and I'm disgusted with myself, but wow, there's a young kid here who needs some help. And just embrace that dynamic. And how would you approach a young kid that needs some help?
Oh, just to listen to him tell me
Good.
everything. Tell me everything you need to say.
So go ahead and invite it to do that. And it's totally up to you if it wants to share it or if it just talks to you. And see if it's receptive to that.
I think he's pretty skeptical of me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he doesn't trust, because oftentimes I've just left him in the just buck up, kid, come on, just
Right. Right. So what do you get as a response? Kind of pose the question, well, what would be needed to establish some trust? What would you need to do to prove yourself worthy, as far as it's concerned? It may respond to that, it may not. Just see what comes up.
Yeah. Just two words just come into my head, which is just, I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here.
So the way to, like any relationship, right, to maintain this trust is that when you're interacting, going through your day, and you feel that coming up, you feel that sense of, I don't belong, you want to remind yourself through practice that, okay, the choice A is to go try to prove it out in the world by saying something, accomplishing something. And if you can put a picture in your mind that says, every time you do that, you're turning attention away from the part of you that actually needs the support and doesn't care how witty and concise and to the point your comments are. And instead you say, okay, how about I turn my attention to the part of me that's feeling that?
Yeah.
And each time you make that choice, you will be establishing more credibility, right? Because it's easy to say or tap or say, hey, I'm going to listen to you. And we've all done that, but it doesn't mean anything if you do a session And then the next time you are actually in real life, you just keep doing the same thing.
Right.
And so that's great insight, though, to see that it's skeptical. And then you just say, well, okay, yeah, it probably has a right to be, because do I consistently move in the direction of how do I help this part of me, in your case, this young boy? And it's going to be easier and easier because now you're actually perceiving it as a, let's call it, a part of you that is younger and just needs some support and was probably given, whether that was verbally or just implied through the environment around it, that, hey, you need to prove yourself. And so when that gets completely identified into your, sense of identity, I need to fit in, I need to prove myself. It's just all me, right? I'm just walking through life trying to prove myself, trying to prove a point. My biggest issue, by the way, something to prove. Something in me feels pain and feels abandoned, or whatever it is in your particular case in that moment. It's like, oh, I'm trying to prove something out there to help this feeling feel like it's more, this part of me maybe feel like it's worth something, but instead I can just turn my attention to that directly, work with that. And then, of course, the more that is sort of satisfied and calmed down, the much more at peace you are in an environment. And if there is something concise to say, you're more likely to say it, but probably more often than not, you're not even going to just be that concerned about
it. I won't even care.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, the worst thing, since you're in the upcoming class, about when you're talking about working with other people, right? The biggest landmine I can step on is trying to show everyone on YouTube how insightful I am, and I'm going to say the right thing, and I'm going to unravel this. Right? Then I'm dead in the water. Yeah. And the more used to that you get, it's like, oh, okay. Well, if I want to actually help or say something of impact, like the worst thing I can do is try to do that.
Right. Well, and I have to say, just in the few moments we've spent together here, Evan, I never got that feeling at all from you. You were just right there with me. You're just right there with me. Nice.
Glad to hear it.
So appreciative.
So, yeah, just that feeling of being with, right? Just that may be helpful. And anytime you've been around somebody who gives you that, that can be a template for how you are with that part of you that just needs to be. It needs someone to be with them.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, because when you're fully there, like we were saying before with Joanna, and sometimes it doesn't say a lot, it just needs to feel you there. Other times it's like my niece, who's like just thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, a lot of energy, a lot to share. But in either case, what it just needs is you there listening, and maybe it's interactive, maybe it's just feeling the support. But it won't take long for that trust element. We're not talking like a 10-year process. It's just, it's just a matter of turning your orientation to it, and it goes, oh, all right, he's here. Because that's what it wants anyway.
Yeah. That was insightful and amazing.
Great. Glad to hear it. Any other questions or anything else about that?
I feel like maybe I was a little further along on this path than I thought, because I have been trying to be much more conscious of giving that part of me its due, its say, and to be with it, and and not I mean, this is going to sound very, very politically incorrect, I guess, but from a lot of my life, I thought my middle name was dumb fuck,
Yeah. Sure.
And so you live kind of this lifetime of either trying to fight that or just totally just wilting in wilting around those words, you know.
Yeah.
So this gives
Very
me
good.
another place to go. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And so, yes, thank you for sharing that. And the question that came on YouTube about what we were just doing there. So this part of you needs to be understood. It needs your direct attention. Exactly. It needs your direct attention. And then if it needs to be understood, it will do that. Like it will communicate in such a way that it communicates it needs to be understood. But it's almost like just the attention. If it needs to be understood, if it needs to share something, if it just needs to feel that attention. And the follow-up question was to that. So it's sort of frozen in time, and that's exactly accurate. I mean, even if you've ever heard fight, flight, freeze, as far as nervous system response to traumatic situations that it can't deal with, can either fight against it, try to run away from it, or freeze. And yes, it's like literally a young part of you, often at the age it happened, or it is often like frozen in time to a certain extent. And if you watch us do some of these processes, it's not uncommon that the person sees themselves like as a young person, or they see a young girl. I think that was actually even on the first one of these we did a week or two ago, where it's like, and that's one of the things that often starts to happen when you begin to separate a little bit from the feeling. Separate meaning not like you disconnect or try to transcend it, but there's that little bit of space from being so immersed, it's like, I suck, I'm a loser, to, okay, I feel something in me saying, I suck, I'm a loser. And now there's a chance to actually relate to it. You're always relating to it, but the way you're relating to it most of the time is it's instantaneous, and you just believe it, like you become it, right? For lack of a better word, there's like a part of you that's young that was, something happened and it takes on a belief like, I need to prove something. And you just walk around that feeling like I need to prove something, right? When you kind of create this space and, learn this inner reconciliation stuff, it becomes easier to see that as, this is a part of me that feels that way, and I am believing it and jumping onto it. So this is where it really aligns with spirituality, spiritual practices, and meditation, because meditation in a lot of ways is being able to see that less than half a second gap between like things happening and then something latching onto them, or something believing them. So once you create that little bit of space, a lot of things can happen. And I say that if there's something we facilitate, it's largely that. The conversations generally start with like, I feel this, or I am this, or I am in pain. And then there's like a feeling of pain, but not like, oh, it's just a feeling, there's a interaction that takes place with that little bit of space that gets created. So that's how I would answer that. What do you have to say?
You pretty much nailed it. Yeah. Frozen in time. It is exactly that, frozen in time. It's an event the nervous system couldn't process. And because it couldn't process it, it only had two options: completely suppress it, take all that energy that can't discharge, because to fight or to flee, I mean, that's what the energy is there to do, right? It's just this buildup of energy. It's either, and the only way it can discharge itself is either it runs away and exhausts itself, or it fights and exhausts itself. All right. If it can't do either, that energy doesn't discharge, and it literally gets frozen, stuck somewhere in the body. And what goes with it is an assumption about the nature of reality. And so that energy is literally looking through the eyes of whatever time it was that it happened. And that's why oftentimes you'll feel these energies, and they'll just be these crazy feelings because they happen so early. It was before you could even speak. So they don't have words. It's just this, there can just be this terror, just this fear. And little by little, the space can open up. It can begin to develop, and it'll actually grow to the point where it can express itself. And this is part of the process of the release. And Louise is saying, you're making so much sense. It feels scary. Yes, it feels scary because it was terrified. That's the only reason we go into fight or flight, is because we are afraid, right? And you can see that it will draw all sorts of conclusions about itself, right? This happened. It happened to me not because my parents are idiots and they don't know what they're doing, which is usually the case, right? You cannot question the authority of those around you. So whose fault is it? It's mine. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't lovable enough. I've got to prove myself. I cannot just be loved. I've got to earn love. These are all of the things. And then once they get in set, as Louise said, it has run my life. Yes. From that moment on, all of your behaviors, including the sense of identity, form around trying to compensate for it and to hide the fact that, in fact, I'm not enough. Right? So I'm going to go out and I'm going to accomplish things, and I'm going to know what to say, and I'm going to have all the right words and the like. And in fact, and you can become really accomplished, do all sorts of amazing things, and it won't even make a dent into it, because all it is an overlay, a whitewash on top of the underlying conviction, I am not enough. We've got to get to that. And if you get to that, the energy that got frozen will itself see, oh, I just believed I wasn't enough. That wasn't it at all. And that's where the dissolution takes place. So, yeah, little promo. And I'm going to ask before we do that, Andre, because I specifically wanted you to check out what we were doing with Mark, because it was so similar. So I'd really like to hear your response. What happened for you during that work with Mark? If you want to comment on that, that would be really, really wonderful. So now let's go ahead.
Yep. Just in case for those of you who are just joining, what we're doing here, working with people, and then maybe more unique is sort of talking a little bit more about what's happening and what we're doing. That's really what this 8-week course starting on Monday is about. It's not all of a course, meaning a course that you just study at home. It's 8 weeks of calls like this, where we will be here on Zoom, interacting with people, taking questions, but more really setting the foundation for what we're doing. These things we're talking about a little more today, where we're sort of elaborating on what's happening. You get this, how do you create this space? You start to see a little bit of separation between the feeling and me, the particular way we sort of interact with these things. That's what we're really going to be focusing on, breaking down, helping sort of give you the tools to do that yourself. So if anyone does it, you get there is a home study course that GP created. I teach a little bit in there about the whole process of inner reconciliation. This thing coming up starting Monday is about what we're doing here, actually facilitating, helping you set the foundation to facilitate yourself. And if you'd like to continue, facilitate other people as well. My premise with that type of concept is that it doesn't matter if you actually intend to, do live calls and facilitate people and have clients. But if you want to get really good at something and really incorporate something into your life, either do it with other people, either teach it, or kind of study it in that way. I can speak very personally to the difference when I was a very academically minded kid trying to learn music that way versus now, being a full-time musician for a living. The real stuff happens on the bandstand, and you can't really describe it. Someone can write about it, but the thing really happens when you're around it, when you're around people that do it well, and you get to absorb it and actually get to ask them, okay, mainly I felt that and I kind of integrated that, but what was going on there? And someone to say, okay, this is what's happening. This is what the process is. And at least for me, I'm pretty methodical in some ways, as ethereal as all of this is. this course is not going to be like, hey, just show up and, try to absorb it. There are mechanics, there are ways to practice this, there are ways to develop this capacity. And, we've alluded to some of those things here, but if you're interested in either in some of the nuts and bolts of how to do this for yourself and others, or just to be around it, just to get more of this type of interaction and get a little more immersed in this when it's happening, this is a chance to do that. So GP, you have another victim. Someone willing. Thank you for our volunteers today being willing to do this. We really appreciate it.
Yes. Looks like Andre did have a nice reaction to it. So still here, what happened is that I also felt this separation that you were talking about. Felt at 18 years old. Yes. Wonderful. That's it. That essential, that theme of separation is what I'm referring to a lot right now as soul disconnect. When you identify with the one who feels as if I'm not enough, as a compensation for the, what happened, a particular traumatic event, in that moment, there's a separation between you and the truth of you, because the truth is you are enough. Right? But it's not enough to think it. It's just not enough to know that. It can't be just a nice little spiritual platitude. Oh, I'm a divine being and I'm perfect, right? I mean, it does nothing for the. That's why you have to reconcile with the system, so that it sees that. And so you actually feel that, not just know it. So anyway, Tatiana, so
happy to be the next victim. And you know what? I believe I victimized myself long enough that being with you now is the least of victimization. Anyway, thank you for explaining about why younger us are frozen in time, because I understand now why. Because it couldn't fight or fly. So yeah, makes sense. I do understand now completely.
Yeah, and it does freeze in time.
Yeah. And then we turn it and blame ourselves and assume.
Yes, and out of that cascades all of the self-degradation and the like. Yeah. It's my fault, I'm to blame, and ultimately I'm broken.
Yeah.
And then you're either resigned to yourself to it, you become a victim, or you go on the eternal, the treadmill of self-help, or even spirituality, all in an attempt to try to regain something that in truth was never lost.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the purpose of all trying.
That's the purpose of all trying. But the idea that I never really lost it isn't enough. It's got to really sink in and colonize the entire system, so it becomes a living truth.
Yeah, as you said, we need to see it from that system. What I want today is really kind of get in touch with what's really going on. I have a horrible relationship with my brother, and it, like, there is no way for me to communicate in a good way with him. I'm mostly confused because he's shifting, saying something, then saying, no, I didn't, I meant it. Anyway, I asked him not to communicate about anything else except about the cottage that we share as inheritance from our parents. But now when some repairs need to be done, again, it's the same confusion. He says something, then it's not. I'm blamed for. Anyway, it's lots of confusion. And I don't know what to do with that.
Okay, good. And I'm really glad you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Because if you did, you'd be wrong.
And I was
Yes.
wrong. That's why I said,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
giving up.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue what to do.
Yeah, I remembered so many years. Oh yeah, I got this, and I was dead wrong. Yeah. Yes. All right. So, what is it about being confused that that is disconcerting? Why is that a problem? Really, just check in. Don't think. Feel.
Okay.
Just, I don't want to be confused. Being confused. What does that feel like?
It's kind of
Remember,
a rock.
confusion is thought. Confusion is thinking. I can't come to an answer, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's flipping side to side to side to side. Do I do this? No. Do I do this? Do I do this? Right? And what's happening is it's always an argument between safety and freedom. That's always at the root of confusion. And you're trying to take sides. One side's got to be the right side, right? This is what our minds do. You've got two options, and you just flop back and forth, thinking one of them's going to be correct. Okay? Now just step away from it.
Okay.
He's right. I'm right. Nobody's right. Everybody's right. Got to do this. Got to do that. Step away from all of that. Just get that gap going, and just look at that. This is the way your mind is operating right now.
Yeah.
And there is no clear answer.
Yeah, there's no clarity.
Okay, good. Now just stepping away, stepping back, making that simple admission. What does it feel like now?
Yeah, when being away from that.
As best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah. Some kind of peace.
Yeah.
And even some kind of peeping joy.
Of course. Yeah.
Like,
there's always happiness. Yeah. There.
It's kind of laughing at all of that.
Yeah.
But not
Now notice
maliciously.
there's a feeling.
Yeah.
No, I know, not maliciously. No, more out of like a laughing at an absurd movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
At absurdity.
Yeah. Yeah. When you know what's going to happen to the guy in advance, and you're just like sitting there, waiting for it to happen. Yeah. That's the gap. Now just be in that gap, and that just and notice there. It's not confused, is it?
Sorry, what did you say?
That in that place of just watching it, that place isn't confused, is it?
No, it's just it's kind of really place, laughing place.
Yeah.
Like
yes.
really, ha ha.
Yeah. Now, in this place right here, I want you to bring in the desire that you really want to find a solution. And notice the desire for a solution and the recognition that you don't know.
Yeah.
Can they occupy the same space? Can they both be there?
Yeah.
Okay. So now notice that you've also taken a step back from this insistence that there be an answer.
Okay.
Is that true?
That I made distance.
You have some distance from even that feeling that I have to have an answer.
Yeah, I can make that distance.
Yeah. An answer has to happen, right?
Yeah, it's kind of, I'm okay with not finding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Now, so the conflict is is lessening.
Yeah. And I feel again joy.
Good. So very simply, just let yourself be with both. Don't take sides. Whatever the answer is, fine. Up to and including nothing at all. And you just stay with you. What if the answer doesn't have to come from you at all?
Yeah.
What if you don't even have to find it?
Yeah, and
There's
again, the
magic.
joy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the joy is kicking in again.
There we go. Yeah. Now, when you're feeling that joy, what that means is the nervous system is dropping out of its defensiveness. It's dropping out of its insistence and coming back to yourself.
Yeah.
This is what you normally feel like. This is your nature.
It's great.
This is everybody's nature.
Mm-hmm.
When we step out of the conflict. Now imagine there's this magic place that has all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is wait for it.
Mm.
And you don't even care where the answer, how it comes.
Yeah.
You, him, somebody else.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the question just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter to you?
No.
Good. Good.
Not at all.
No.
It's actually very liberating to know.
Yes. Yeah, I can hear it in your voice. And in that nice little
yeah. Exactly.
And I'm sure I would see a change to your face as well. Because the whole energy system shifts as that energy frees itself from the defensive posture. It goes back into that pool of available creativity.
Yes. So spacious.
So spacious, yes. And all we did was step out of the conflict.
It's spacious.
And see how the mind gets, spacious and joy.
And joyful.
You can, you can see as we step out of that, it's kind of the unconscious idea that somehow I've got to find an answer. And if that's the leading idea, then the whole energy system's going to go with it, right? Dutifully. Oh, I've got to find an answer. And then the mind says, okay, find an answer. Ooh, haven't got one. What? You don't have one? You got to have one. You can see the spiral starts happening.
And now it's just love. Just my heart exploded, and it's just love.
Bring your brother to mind.
Okay.
See if there's any reaction to him now. If there is, it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. However he is, it's okay.
It's okay. There's no hostility or anything.
No. Yeah.
Perfect.
No frustration, nothing. Just,
perfect.
It's okay.
I can't wait to hear how it works out. Because something is going to happen. It always does, right?
Yes.
Life is that wonderful flow, and we don't have to make it flow.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful.
Thank you, JP.
Oh, thank you, Tatiana. You're so easy. You go right to it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful.
I can't wait to start the 8 weeks.
Neither can I. I love this work. Yes, I love this work. Yep. It is so gentle and so and so effective
and so natural.
Well, that's all it is.
Yeah,
that's all it is. You're just sorry. You are simply harmonizing with your own nature instead of fighting it. Yeah. This is what happens: is we get that original disconnect when I start thinking, I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, all of these things. What's happening is you're creating a schism between you and who you really are. There's no such thing as an unlovable child. There's no such thing as a child who isn't enough. They don't exist. So we accumulate these things along the path. We find out, we believe them to be true. We inhabit them and identify with them so that we're acting them out, all the while the truth of your original purity and innocence is still there, just waiting to be rediscovered, which is why this is so easy, because we're not making anything happen. We're not doing a magic transformation. We're simply reconnecting you with what's been there the whole time. You, beautiful, pure, pristine, innocent, lovely, creative, energetic, wonderful, lovable. Every quality you could ever imagine are all you.
You know what I realize now? I'm not responsible for who my brother is, what he does, and how he feels.
Yay!
Oh, so liberating. And I'm an older sister who was about to take care of her brother. Now I'm really free. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Tatiana.
Welcome.
Wow.
Very good. So let's see here. I guess that's our volunteers for today. We will take a look at the channel. If anybody has any questions they would like to post on YouTube, feel free, or in the chat. In the meantime, I will put the link up for the 8-week course that we are about to start on Monday. Just kind of dive much deeper into everything we're doing here today for those of you who might be interested. And of course, if you have any questions about the course, you can ask those as well.
There's a couple here on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All of which will be answered in detail in the course. Just sign up. It's my radio announcer voice from my voiceover days. Snizzly, the name I can't pronounce, Bob in Serbia. I also felt that homeless feeling too, but it felt as a lack of genuine intimacy. Didn't get much further though, because I didn't know what to ask next. That's a wonderful thing, and it's okay. The questions, I don't know what to ask next either. And sometimes you'll see me there, pausing there for a second, because I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for whatever that next thing is. The thing is that the mind will jump into that little gap and say, well, you should know what you're doing. Especially, we're sitting here in front of a bunch of people on YouTube, and we're supposed to know what we're doing, right? Well, I don't. I sit and listen. And if nothing is coming, I just stay present, right? And so that's what I encourage anyone to do who's doing this inner work. Remember, there's no rules here. Your only job is to stay present and to keep it safe. So if nothing's coming, there's nothing that can ever stop you from just being present with your feelings. Just bring yourself into the body. Just breathe, right? And if nothing comes, just notice how your body's feeling. And if in that nothing coming, your body just begins to kind of calm down and relax, good. Right? You can just stay with it for a little longer. Just ask it, is there anything you need? Is there anything you want to say? And if there isn't, just let it go. This is really gentle and it's really easy. It doesn't, whatever happens is okay, right? You can't get this wrong. I don't care in Mark's terms what a dumb fuck you were. You can't get this wrong. I know that feeling well, Mark. Louise, following on from what you're saying, suppose I was what they said I was. Does that even matter? Because I'm still here now. Yeah, this is subtle, and I don't want you to take it in as a thought. Okay? You never were what they said you were. They were speaking from their perception of you, right? Which was influenced by their programming and their conditioning. And unless your parents had some degree of consciousness, they were simply acting out what had happened to them. And so anytime you got the impression that you weren't lovable, that you weren't enough, that you didn't have value, it was never true. Just look for yourself. Is there such a thing as a child that doesn't have value? Just look. Right? So at what point in your life did you lose the value? Was it at 3? Was it at 7? Was it at 16? Right? It's when you dropped out of college to travel instead. When was it that you became unlovable and lost your value? So you are still here, and you are still here in your wholeness. Rediscovering the wholeness of you is the ultimate goal here. To find the truth of you. Right? To do that, we have this process of reconciling with all the different things inside of you for the purpose that all of these beliefs, all the traumatic experiences begin to drop away. And as they do, more and more of the real you that was there the whole time begins to appear. That same original innocence that was there as the child. And when children, total exuberance and innocence and purity, say what's on their mind. Evan's experiencing it now with his niece. I'm experiencing it with my granddaughter afresh. Just pure, just whatever comes to mind. They're just completely present. That was you. That is you. And that natural exuberance simply got squashed, right? It had to hide because it wasn't acceptable. The real you wasn't acceptable, so it had to hide. And it did the job so well, it's been hidden even from you. And our job is to bring you back and reintroduce you to you. So, anything you want to add to that, my man?
No, nothing to add to that. That's for sure. Is that all as far as our questions, comments, concerns? You all have another moment or two to type it in if you're desperate to keep hanging out with us. Otherwise, you can hang out with us for 8 more weeks. And of course, GP is still going to be, well, you are, before I speak for you, you're still going to be live on Sundays.
Yep,
during
always.
Class.
Yeah.
GP will
I
still
think
be
it's
live
going on
Sundays.
4 years now. Yeah.
I have some videos of inner reconciliation and EFT on my channel, which is up at the top there in the chat. So you can have plenty of opportunities to still tap along with us and reconcile with us on video, but it's not quite the same looking at a recorded version of us versus being in the digital room with us, so to speak. So
yes,
it's pretty fun to be interacting with everyone in that format. I think it's a much different energy that's hard to recreate in any other format. So if you want to be around this, if you participate in the course, I always like to share this because sometimes it's a concern for people. You're not obligated to speak. You're not obligated to be on video. You're not going to be obligated to facilitate other people with us looking over you or anything like that. That's later. This will be just a chance to be, you can sort of ask as many questions as you want or as few as you want. If you want to kind of hang out and just be part of the environment and watch and participate along, that is welcome. Everything we do is always recorded, so it doesn't matter if you can attend the calls live or not. It might matter to you, but you will still be able to see the recordings if that's paramount to you as far as whether or not you want to attend. The calls are at 1 p.m. Eastern New York time on Thursdays. And inevitably, because it's just something I enjoy doing, there will be a couple extra calls here and there that are just going to be focused on processing like we do, because this course is going to be breaking down this process of how we facilitate and how to prepare yourself, get deeper inside this process for yourself so that you can not only hold this space better for your own feelings and emotions and working with them, but also potentially working with other people, whether that's formally working with them. But I'd like to strongly emphasize that it translates very well to just the interactions you have with other human beings who will never know what's going on inside of you, right? A lot of nonsense has definitely dropped out of my life for sure. The more practice I have with this, to just be like, oh, okay. I would have had a lot to say in that moment, or would have gotten all wrapped up in that. But not a problem anymore.
I can say that that's the biggest blessing, is that equanimity. Nothing bothers me, right? And I can say that with complete honesty. Yeah. Other than cardio, I get so bored on the cardio machines. So there's still some area for me to become free with, but I just don't get bothered by anything. And it's not that I don't care. Right? It's that I don't have the same amount of reactive triggering to it, and so I'm present. When something needs to be dealt with, it can be dealt with. But there's not that kind of personal involvement. There's not that personal kind of attachment to an outcome, right? And as you notice that throughout the entire process, both Evan and I, there was no attachment to an outcome. We weren't driving. This isn't a process that drives towards a goal. Right? It is simply going with, monitoring, flowing with, facilitating, and your entire life can be like that. Just you're not driving to a particular end. You let life be what it is, and there's just enormous freedom in that. So sign up now.
Yes, we start 2 days.
Yep, 2 days.
So we hope to see you there. If not, we will see you in other forms. GP's just taking a look to see if there's any final questions, comments, thoughts from those in the chat, whether that's YouTube or here with us live.
Let's see, Louise just asked how much I charge for a one-on-one. I'm very, very inexpensive. I'm only $100. And you can go to my site, gpwalsh.com. There's a work with me tab. And you can find out there. Is there a distinction between boredom and apathy? Thank you. Well, what we would do is, looking at that, is we would ignore the label of boredom or apathy, because those are just words we put on a feeling, and put your attention on the feeling. It could be something else. It could be a combination. It could be, right? But a feeling comes up, and we've learned to associate certain thoughts and concepts with certain feelings. And now we're more on the concept about the feeling than the feeling. So I would put both of those words aside, and I would just be with that feeling. And then you just describe the feeling itself, where there's this kind of this uneasiness in my stomach. I just kind of listless. I don't have much energy. Notice it's a very different experience when you're really cueing into the feeling rather than just thinking about the feeling, right? So we put aside all diagnosis, all words, and just go, well, tell me about the feeling. So that's the way I would point to it. Is there a distinction between them? Conceptually, yes. In your experience, I don't know. I would have to bring you into the actual experience and determine what it was. And it would probably be neither. Just from experience, that would be my guess. And then Louise says, thank you, GP. It's all about beliefs. I love my beautiful nieces so much. Yes, it's about beliefs. But remember, these aren't head beliefs. This is really important to get. I call them energetic assumptions because they're beliefs that form in the level of the nervous system even prior to being able to speak or conceptualize. So they're deeper than a belief. As a matter of fact, they will drive the belief system. These assumptions drive thought, feeling, and sensation. They'll form the identity. So they're very, very subtle. And that's why we're always just kind of opening up, creating space, probing, opening up, creating space, so that the real assumption can begin to come to the surface. And the nervous system can for itself see, it is just an assumption. It's not really true. All the thinking in the world won't have any impact, but the nervous system itself recognizing that is instantaneous. It begins to drop out of defense and expand into this new environment of safety. So Bob says, thank you, G. You're welcome. You're so welcome. You're so welcome all. So hope to see you all on, in person on Thursday and checking out all the material starting on Monday.
Great. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We will
Thank you.
see you Thursday. Take care.